Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Dark Art Society podcast. I am your host, Chet Zar. You may have just heard a car go by. That's because I'm trying this new setup in my studio, recording the podcast in my painting studio. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep doing this in here. I did a kind of a test run with Gabe today, and Gabe Leonard. He's this week's guest. He's our friend of the show, Gabe Leonard. He's easy to talk to, and we chit-chat all the time, and so I thought, let's have Gabe on. Do an easy one. Test out this new setup. So, had a good conversation. The theme sort of was... you'll be hearing, getting out of your comfort zone, getting outside of your comfort zone, and, went in a lot of different directions. A lot of NFT talk, a lot of blockchain talk, a lot of YouTube talk, and multiple income streams talk, artist strategies, things like that. So it's a pretty loose episode, but a super fun conversation. I always enjoyed talking to Gabe, and, testing out this new backdrop. We'll see how it goes. Because as you may know, I am planning on releasing this podcast on YouTube as a series of videos. So I'm recording video now. And at this time, if you are a subscriber to the Dark Art Society Patreon, then you can see the videos and no one else can. Until we get enough. I'm going to release, I think, once we get them all turned in, all the episodes turned into videos, we're going to release them like twice a week until we're up to where we are now, which is like 200 and something. I don't even know what episode we're on. So, yeah, that's been going on. Kind of exciting. If you want to join, go to patreon.com/darkartsociety, and you can join for $1 and get in on the... Facebook group and be a part of the community and support the channel. So, what have I been doing this week? I've been dealing with, a lot of video testing, getting these mystery boxes together. I do this thing called a mystery box where, people order off my website, and I put all kinds of different things, signed brushes, stickers, sketches, all these random things, but you don't know what you're going to get. And people seem to love this idea because I posted a bunch of them on Black Friday, and they sold out in a couple hours. And so we were like, oh man, all these people were hitting me up asking if there was going to be more because they missed out. I didn't think they were going to sell that fast. I really didn't. I thought this would carry us through the holidays. It was like 55 box, 60, I don't remember how many boxes. It was like 60, 50, 55, 60. I think it was 65 boxes. And so we had a little meeting here and figured out how we can make some more. So I just put another, 15, 25, 30 more on sale. Again, they just sold right out in an hour or 2 hours or something. It was just crazy, totally unexpected, really great. I mean, amazing. But wow. So anyway, I've been dealing with creating stuff for the mystery boxes and just getting that together. This is the busy time of the year for me as far as sales, web sales and stuff. So trying to deal with that mainly, still working on commission work and all the other stuff I'm trying to get caught up on. Still no word on the book. It's, I don't know when it's going to be here. So I haven't heard. I'm supposed to get a notification when it gets loaded onto the ship to come over. So haven't gotten that email yet. But I will let you know when that happens. So Anyway, let's get on with the new subscribers. We have 2 new subscribers this month. I think we left off with I think I pronounced the name wrong. Cy Griffiths. S-I. That was from last week. I said C Griffiths. It just was not. Maybe that is right. I don't know. Cy Griffiths or C Griffiths. I think it's Cy Griffiths. Anyway, we've got a new subscriber, Mad Morph. Thank you for subscribing and supporting this podcast. And Sarah Galbraith, thank you for supporting. Hit us up on Dark Art Society Facebook. Type in Dark Art Society Cooperative, and we'll let you in the group. Okay, I think that's it. Anyway, anybody that watches this video, most people will be listening to this, but for you people on Patreon that are watching this video, let me know what you think about the video version of the podcast. I don't know. Is this background too busy? Do I need colored lights like everybody does on YouTube? Do I need a darker background? I don't know. I think it looks pretty good. It's more interesting than the what Gabe called the hostage curtain I have in my office where I've been doing my podcast. The first few video podcasts. Looks like I'm in a hostage video. I don't know, though. I've got garbage trucks. I'm right near the road here, so I don't know if it's a good idea to do the interviews in here. It's at the front of the house, so maybe I'll do the intro in here because it looks kind of cool, and then maybe I'll do the interview in the office where there's less noise in front of the curtain. Who knows? We'll see. It's all it's all new. Anyway, that's it. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Here we go with Gabe Leonard once again. All right, thanks.
Do you have some theme music you want to play?
No. What's up, Gabe?
Hey, Chet.
Did you hear that? Recording. I still can't get used to that. Now that I'm doing Zoom, it says recording in progress. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it asked me to confirm.
Oh, okay.
Basically, I just had to sign my soul over to the devil, which is he's live streaming probably later today about 3:00. So we might gotta make sure we're done before the devil live stream.
Right, that's true. That's
don't want to miss his podcast.
Yeah, he's great.
He gives us a bunch of runaround, and
we're talking about the invest answers on YouTube. He's great. He's great, but yeah,
he is the devil.
We have a running joke that he's the devil. But so just so people know that we're kind of going fast and loose today, but I want to try out this new camera setup in my studio. I may go back to go with the hostage looking setting, like you were saying, in my office.
This looks pretty good.
I think it looks good with the studio in the background. I'm just not sure how it's going to record. I don't know if there's any issues. Well, I'm on a PC recording this, so I just thought it'd be cool to try one out.
If anything, I'd say your background is a little busy, so if you maybe had less light on the background and a light that focused more on you.
How about this? Okay. Is that enough light on my face, though?
Well, you look like you're in a dungeon now.
It might be a little more appropriate.
Yeah, you'd have to set up the lighting, I think, but it works. It works for now.
And I was also thinking if I put my telephoto lens on, I can blur the background out more.
Yeah, you could do a depth of field that would blur that in the background.
That might work, but I think it's busy, but it's interesting.
I sit up close to the camera here. I don't know. I just have one big painting I have on my easel back here. I can
on that fancy ass easel, most amazing easel ever.
Fancy ass easel.
I'm so jealous of that easel.
Yeah, me too.
I want to get the Mark Carter easel because it's like I don't really have the space for the easel that you have there, but the Mark Carter one is that really expensive easel he has. I want to get because it's got more. I could it doesn't matter. It's not what we're talking about. Anyway, so yeah. So it's I'm transitioning. I'm trying to transition this podcast into a YouTube podcast, and
good idea.
Yeah, because I've got over 200 episodes, so I can drop them at a certain time every week, and I think build a channel up. And so anyway, yeah. So what I was thinking originally, Gabe's like my recurring guest. We always are bullshitting constantly on text and cracking jokes, talking about what we're working on. And we seem to be always Gabe and I have this weird thing to where our art paths, careers are parallel. Like we always have our solo shows on like almost the same day every year. And it's not like we ever plan it. And it's a lot of times we're doing something similar, something different, but really similar, like a new thing or something.
It's like matter and antimatter. If we're seen in the same place twice, we disappear.
And together. And right now we're both going through some changes, like trying new things and getting outside of our comfort zone. So I thought maybe, that might be a good subject to tackle, because we're both doing things that are new and uncomfortable, and we don't know what the fuck we're doing.
Yeah, well, that's the mode of operation generally.
but
it seems like I have this theory, like you have to get out before you're pushed out, and so there's always things are changing all the time. The economy's changing, the environment's changing, technology's changing, all this stuff, and I guess you can just stay stuck on doing what you're doing. But I've seen that when I've tried to adopt onto early changes of, like, even with printers and printing, I would invest into that stuff even if it was new, and then be on top of it, and that helped me to stay ahead of the curve on a lot of things.
Yeah, you were definitely early on the printing thing. You're the one who got me into canvas clays.
Yeah, and then when social media came out, trying to use that as a tool to help promote and sell the art and distribute it, and websites. Like I remember when I first started, like I didn't have a computer. Like,
really?
I was out in the street hustling and trying to sell color copies from Kinko's, and people were asking me about a website, and I'm like, a web what? Like I go to the library to get on the internet. Like I don't have a website.
Wow. So you were getting on the. I'm gonna turn my light back up.
I didn't have access to any of that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
People were asking me about, like, how can I email you? I'm like, I don't know. And so one of the first things I did was I got a computer. I got a loan from Apple. I don't know why they gave me a loan to buy one of their computers. I got that and a scanner and a printer, and I was able to get an email address, which I now need to get into my registered.com account for my website, and I don't have that email address, and so I'm locked out of it. So
no.
So I have to send over, like, a sacrificial lamb or something to get into that. Like,
right.
Prove I'm not Osama bin Laden. I don't know. Anyway, so the first thing I did was I went to, like, Barnes and Nobles, which I could walk to, and I started reading HTML for Dummies, and I started reading that book, and then I would remember as much as I could because I couldn't afford to buy the book, and I'd walk home and I got a free Yahoo GeoCities website.
Holy shit.
And I started coding a page for my website. And I would that's what I started giving out as my first website address.
Wow.
An email. And I was giving out my phone number to everybody back then too. It was like, because I didn't have a cell phone, but I had a home line.
Right.
Like now it's weird. Like now your cell phone's like, I don't know. Here's my Instagram.
Right.
You don't need my phone number. I don't answer the phone.
Yeah. Well, it's that's it's funny because now we both find ourselves. Yeah. And I have been in the same boat as well, especially when it came to printing. I bought so much shit. It's like I was using the Epson R1800 or something, which is like a consumer level printer that printed 13 by 19, I think. Yeah. And so they kept breaking. I have to keep buying them because they weren't pro level. And then I bought your what was that one? The Epson
4800 or something.
yeah, the 4800, which is like those are coveted now. Mine finally died.
Yeah.
But
those are good printers.
People buy them and repair them because they're so good. But
before that, I had an Epson 1270s and 1280s, and they were like, you get them at Comp USA. In fact, when I bought it,
right, yeah, same.
Because I had at first I could only make 8.5 by 11-inch prints. That's the printer I had. People were like, God, they wanted bigger prints, and so I didn't have any money, so I had just enough money on a credit card to max it out at Comp USA and buy a big printer.
I could print. That's why I used to get mine at Comp USA also.
But the thing was like those cartridges would run out and it was like $28, $30, $40 to get a cartridge.
Yeah.
And I started doing some research online, and I found that you could get what's called a continuous ink flow system. And it was this custom system that was like a cartridge that had these tubes going out, and that would go into reservoirs of ink, which you could buy in bulk.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I remember when you were doing that, and I was like, it's like I always say to Gabe, you're always like about 2 years ahead of me on everything. Is like, because I remember you were doing that, and then I started looking into it, and I almost went to the continuous ink system. And by the time I was thinking about actually doing it, you had already kind of gotten out of it. So it's like, because it's got its own set of problems.
It was great for cutting down my expenses on because I was making a lot of those smaller prints,
mm-hmm.
and the ink. The quality was good. It matched the original Epson inks. But when you did that, it voided the warranty on the printer. So if you fuck with the printer, you're screwed. But I learned how to repair the printer, how to reset the ink. There's things you had to do to for the waste maintenance pads.
Mm-hmm.
They were built in, and you have to take it to a repair shop and they'd reset it. But I found a website called fixyourownprinter.com. And I read about how to fix that thing. And I had one continuous ink flow system that got a little pinhole leak in one of the tubes and started leaking ink everywhere. And
God!
I took some silicone and plugged it up, and I was always MacGyvering those things to make them keep working.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
And then when I got when I got the big professional printers like the Epson, I think the first one I got was the Epson like 7500 or something, or 7700. And it could print 24 inches wide on rolls of paper.
Mm-hmm.
And I set up and I got continuous ink cartridges for those, like refillable cartridges, which I could pour ink into.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the ink would get wasted. It would have you replace the cartridge, and there's still plenty of ink in the cartridge. So that
I remember I got one of those chip resetters for the ink cartridges.
Yeah, I had all those, but and then I bought a used 9600, which was even bigger, could print up to 44 inches wide. I had the same setup with that, but then I upgraded to like a brand new big printer, which is like the Epson 9700 or 9800 or something like that. And at that point, I decided that I would just use the original Epson inks because it was a brand new printer. I didn't want to avoid the warranty. And I calculated it cost me more money to use the Epson inks. But I got coupling. I knew exactly what I was getting with Epson inks. I didn't void the warranty on the printer. I didn't have the hassle of having to fix or maintenance. It solved a lot of issues, and the extra cost on the print was acceptable. I just made less profit with the ink.
Right.
And I haven't fooled with continuous ink flow systems since then. I use the original manufacturer's ink that comes with it, and then I don't have to deal with sourcing third-party stuff. And
that's what I ended up doing too, except for my cheap little regular printer. I buy the cheap inks from inkjet.com, I think it's called.
If I'm like, I have a laser printer for printing out invoices and shipping.
What you got to tell me what kind of laser printer you got, because I've been looking for laser
cheapo from one of the office supply stores. I got two. I got one that I use to print out my certificates, just like
that's what I need,
black and white. And then I have another one that's a color that I don't ever use the color on. I just use that to print shipping labels. So
all right, what's the, you don't know the, I'll get the model for
it's a Brother. I don't remember what model.
There's so many models, man. I was looking, and it's just like there's 50 different types of laser printers. And I'm just like, I got a subscription to consumerreports.com. So I always check everything first, and it's just like I don't want this many choices. I don't like to go to the grocery store. I don't want choices.
Get a printer with two trays that you can have two different types of paper in. So if you're printing one on
Right.
like one, the certificates are always like this A5 size. It was so small, and all the shipping labels are on 8.5 by 11. And so if you're going to do two sizes, you can just print from one tray or the other to one printer.
Right.
But I have
Just
two
switch it
printers.
out.
But those are low maintenance and don't cause me too many problems, really.
Well, okay. So anyway, to bring it back into our topic, kind of, but we've been going through the discomfort zone lately, and we're both trying to learn some new things, and we're both trying to get into to get NFTs going and try that out. And Josh Breckenridge is a friend of ours, really great dude. He's got a band called With Our Arms to the Sun. It's an amazing band. They played with Tool before. They're really, really great. He's a really great engineer, really talented musician. And anyway, he's kind of been helping us. We've been doing these Zoom calls, and he's been helping us set up our profiles on Foundation. And Gabe just minted his first one last night, and the other thing, before we get talking about it, the other thing is I'm trying to get my YouTube channel going, and I keep looking at your channel too, and it's like we have so much content. It's like we just need to like do it right somehow, and it will bring in money, so it's like Gabe and I are kind of not in a planned way. We're both like looking into these new revenue streams, because when you're an independent artist, you got to look for multiple revenue streams, and especially as technology changes and as the times change, you you sort of have to keep up with that. And as frustrating as I'm kind of excited about it, actually, even though it's uncomfortable, it's also kind of like got me thinking, like I could do so many cool things with videos, and there's just a lot of cool shit to do.
Yeah, a lot of this comes down to figuring out where to prioritize your energy.
I know, right?
And I felt the same way about social media in the past with Facebook and Instagram, and I hustled to try to be on top of that and put out content and be present in those spaces, only to find that it matters somewhat, but it's not hugely important. Mainly because I think those platforms and social media in general has just gotten to the point where it's basically for people sitting on their toilet to give them something to thumb through, or they're trying to fall asleep at night. They're just like scrolling through stuff,
Yeah.
And I don't really care about that crowd. So I've kind of taken the track of putting things out. I'm available on those platforms, but I only put out stuff when it's something important to say, or just randomly. And then I try to focus my energy onto a smaller, more select group of people that are really interested in what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
And that might only be a few hundred people.
Right.
But why, I guess my point is like, I would rather, the more time that I spend focusing on running a YouTube channel, creating content, posting, responding to comments, is time I'm not working on my paintings.
I know, but that's the rub, that's the crazy difficult thing, is that you get to this point, especially when you're at a point where you've established yourself as an artist, you're selling, this is how you make your living. And in order to keep up with kind of the new technology and just trying to stay current on things, you have to learn these new technologies, and that takes away from your painting time, which is, I don't have a problem with it right now, because I just almost killed myself painting for the Chaos Show. And I'm just like, I don't want to paint. I had to do this Zorn palette tutorial the other day, and I was just like, oh, I don't want to paint. It's, because I got painter's burnout, because it just was like so painful at the end.
I've gone through that too.
Of course it'll go away, and I'll be like, oh, I can't wait to sit down and paint. But right now it's like, it's a good time for me to kind of focus on something else, because I don't know, I get kind of excited about trying something new. The potential of these things like NFTs, or getting a success on YouTube. It's the potential. I see it as like it's just another way of cultivating a collector base, and driving people to buy your stuff, or in my case, driving people to my Patreon.
Yeah.
or you can monetize your videos and make money that way. And so it's like I'm kind of excited about trying that out. At the same time, you go on there and you post. You're used to having like a bunch of responses to stuff on Instagram when you post, and hundreds of comments or hundreds of likes and stuff, and then you post
Yeah.
something on YouTube and you're like going, oh, I got 4 new likes today. I got 4 new views of my
I got
video.
87 views this week on this video. Like,
It's
I'm
what
telling you, like it's if you get your mind out of the quantity of
Yeah,
engagement and
absolutely.
focus on the quality, like you don't really like need 10,000 people casually
Yeah,
walking,
absolutely.
casually being, impressed with what you're doing.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. I totally
so
agree with
it's
that.
like the way I liken it to is like when I was on the boardwalk, there was like 10, 20,000 people walking by in a day. And I only needed like 10 or 15 of those people to come by
Right.
and buy something, and out of, so I'd have it maybe 200 or 300 stop by and look, and then 10, 15 people buy something. So those 10 or 15 people is where you want to focus your energy. I wasn't out in front of the crowd spinning a sign pointing to my artwork and trying to crop people
that might have
over.
that might have been a good idea to do sign spinner for your art.
Well, that's a lot of wasted energy. So
As a joke.
I would, it's easier to sell. It's easier to close a sale on somebody who's selecting themselves out of a crowd and showing
Yeah.
interest. And so like, that's kind of the approach I've taken to social media, is that I'm putting it out there. I don't always do it on a regular basis. Like if you're always around people, it's like there's too much of you in circulation. They just don't care anymore. So when you post less frequently, people are like, oh, you have something more interesting to post when you post. Like,
Right.
then people
Yeah.
are more likely to pay attention, be interested in it.
Quality over quantity. That's
And then
what it's
out
all
of those
about.
people, that are interested and engage with it, a few of those are going to dig a little deeper, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But like how much energy are you going to spend dancing and spinning that sign in front of people? And when like, so like not only that, but when I was out there selling my artwork, I wasn't out there making paintings. So I'd spend all this
Right.
time, and the whole point of me getting out of doing the, not only in Venice but festivals, was to have more time to do these to work on paintings. And here I find myself spending all this time still trying to, like, from my computer, get in front of people, even though I have galleries that are supposed to be doing a lot of this stuff too.
Well, that's so funny that Josh keeps texting both of us. And
Yeah.
so I can hear it ding on your end, and then I get a text come into my phone. What was I gonna say? That I forgot. I lost it. I lost what I was gonna say. Shit.
It's just gone over the horizon. It's not coming back.
Oh, okay. I'll have to.
So, well, anyways, we're doing this. We've been, so the NFT stuff came out with cryptocurrency. I mean, cryptocurrency's been around for a while. When it blew up, like Bitcoin blew up in 2017, I bought some of it and then went down. I sold it. Like, screw this. This is stupid. And then I kind of just out of sight, out of mind until earlier this year. And I didn't realize I had like a couple $100 still in Bitcoin, and it turned into like $1,300. I'm like, oh, what is this? What's going? And then the NFT started coming out, and there was just a lot of like polarization around it. Like, first of all, like, what is it? It's stupid.
Right.
It's using a huge amount of energy. You're burning the environment, and a lot of negativity and confusion swirling around it. But during the pandemic, I did a couple other things too. I started getting into 3D modeling by learning.
That's the other thing. That's the other thing you've been doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm using Blender, which is like basically going to JPL and starting a job without having a degree. Like, I might as well be a rocket scientist. Like, that's, and then doing that, basically trying to learn how to create visual references for some paintings I wanted to do, which, at the time I couldn't go out and obtain those in person. It's like, I need a way to see and light things. So I started learning that. Then I got an Oculus virtual reality goggles, and then I started being able to, you can create 3D things in the Oculus, and the virtual reality aspect was kind of mind blowing. It was like, man, this is crazy. I could see this becoming a huge part of what's going on in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I've been seeing is all of this in the technology side of things converging into like even with Facebook turning into Meta, there's all this focus on creating a new dynamic in which to operate and communicate with people and connect with people. And it's going to be in a virtual reality space. And this blockchain technology, which right now is mostly the hype is about trading coins and NFTs and stuff. Well, that's going to be a way of establishing protocols and legitimize these virtual reality spaces. So you can have some sort of stake and ownership in some of these spaces. And it's kind of confusing, but I see all these things converging. And as creative people, it's like, this is a great opportunity possibly to be in from the beginning and grow with this stuff. And so when people start adapting it more mainstream, more widely adopted, you're already there. Right. Something to interact with. You're starting to build stuff in these environments. So right now it's just a bunch of, kind of platform building and speculation and a lot of craziness going on. But I can see it going forward. There's a lot of great usefulness for these technologies. Yeah. And it just seems like where the future is going. Like I remember a few years ago when Tesla was starting to rise up, and I was like, I saw Elon Musk talk about his cars, and I could just see that it was more than cars. It was battery technology and reusable energy. And even though it's not perfect now, and there's lots of flaws going there, and there's lots of, there's still lots of environmental issues with batteries and lithium and all that stuff. That is where things are headed. And a lot of these problems and concerns revolving around the sustainability of it, the ability for it to actually work. It's not going to work right out of the box. It starts somewhere and grows and builds. And as the demand grows, it puts pressure on things to become more efficient, more sustainable. Yep. So I see where that's going. And so that's what I decided, my IRA, I bought a bunch of Teslas. Like, I just see that this is where the future is going. And that was a correct bet. Yeah. It was like a speculation, but it was a speculation that built on some sort of like imagination of where things might be headed. Right. And I remember like in late February of 2020, when the coronavirus was coming out, I was sitting with my girlfriend, we're watching the news, and they were talking about it in China and different places. And then the news came out that it was like a 14-day period before you became symptomatic. Mm-hmm. After infection, and you could be contagious before you're asymptomatic. And I'm like, oh, this shit's going to get everywhere. They're not going to go. And so I went to the grocery store, started buying all kinds of canned food, because I was like, we're both going to get it. We're both going to be sick for a couple of weeks, and we're going to need to both have some food to eat for a couple of weeks. Right. And I felt stupid walking to the grocery store, loading up on canned food and different things. And everybody was like looking at me kind of weird. And then like 3 weeks later, we were in total lockdown. Yeah, little did they know. Yeah, little did they know you were ahead of the curve there. Well, it's sometimes you can see, you get some information, and it's just a matter of putting two and two together. And I could have been wrong about coronavirus and that, but what's the worst case scenario? I have too much canned food, like whatever, Yeah. So I mean, so the worst case scenario for a lot of this is that you wasted your time. That's kind of how I see it. Like, I don't jump 100% into anything right off the bat, but the only way to really learn about it is to start getting involved with it, and start kind of getting in the mix. And so like for this last year, we've been learning about cryptocurrency by basically, investing a little bit of money into some of these coins and tokens, and then listening and finding people that are talking about it and seem to know what they're talking about it. Yeah. The two or three that aren't total idiots. Yeah. You got to filter through a bunch of garbage and figure out what's just nonsense. And it's really hard to find good information and be able to determine if the information you're getting is from somebody who's credible and that they're reliable, and it's not just puffery. It's not like just somebody with laser eyes on a YouTube video, like pointing to his arrow going up, and they're like, this is gonna crash. Everyone must see this. Like all this stupid nonsense. Clickbait. Click on their video. Bullshit. Yeah. I mean, the thing that interested me about that was once the thing I hear a lot is
people don't get NFTs or crypto or blockchain, and there's usually a moment where it clicks in their head and they go, oh, I see the potential, I see where this is going. And you have that moment. I know I had that moment with just blockchain technology. Take NFTs, take cryptocurrency out of the equation, the technology, it's like, oh, I see everything really, there's no reason why everything won't go onto the blockchain, because it's just a better way of doing things. It's like, it's so it's transparent, it's like efficient, and it's one of those things that it's, it's decentralized. It's got, which, in some cases, that's the one thing that's got me. I'm not so worried about the environmental stuff because, like I was saying before, you gotta break a couple eggs to make an omelet type thing. It's like, Bitcoin is already being mined and over 50% renewable sources, and there's all these other cryptocurrencies that are using environmentally sound
well, there's a
technologies and stuff, but it's like the idea that it's potentially going to overthrow this fucking horrible banking system, which is going to totally, the current banking system uses so much. Yeah, but it's also so bad for the environment. It's like the whole banking system is horrible for the environment, and everybody's using that right now. So it's like kind of like you have to think more in the long term environmentally, maybe.
Yeah, well, so the way that I think about it is that it's being dematerialized in the sense like now you can carry every book you've ever read in the palm of your hand,
right,
along with every CD that you've ever owned, a piece of music. And what that does is it means that they don't have to chop down trees to print books. They don't have to produce more plastic for CDs and cases and printing materials. Like all that stuff that is going into the environment and causing problems is now vanished. And now you have the environmental impact of creating phones.
Right.
And so is that a less
and energy, energy to run computers and stuff.
Yeah. And with banking, you're going to get rid of the amount of buildings that need to be that hold offices and people printing paper and sheets and reports. Like there's a huge shift in the way that we're using the material in the world. And there's also a lot of pressure and demand on, from what I can see, for blockchain technology to be way more energy efficient. And that's where it's headed.
Yep. Because everybody wants that. It's like, who doesn't want, everybody wants the environment to be saved, whether they, openly say it or not. It's stupid to not want to have a clean environment,
Yeah, but in the meantime, we're all on the Titanic. I'm not the captain, and am I not supposed to learn how to swim?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're such a weird place in existence where it's such a weird time.
So I can tell you the question, the sort of things that I'm mulling over in my head is, am I deceiving myself because I want to do this regardless of what impact it might have? And so, I've dipped my toes in minting the first 3 NFTs to see, and what that's done for me, if you set aside the energy use and environmental impact of it, is it's allowed me to see how this operates. I already, just by doing that, can see way more potential than I could really understand just thinking about it and trying to read about it. Because now I see the implications of it, being able to have collaborators automatically paid through a contract that self-executes. That's
right.
A huge thing. Like, so imagine that if you're an artist and you're dealing with clients and commissions or other things, and you don't have to chase the money. You don't have to, say, when am I getting paid? It happens automatically. That sort of thing. You could sell anything. Like one of the first things I thought about using crypto, like a NFT technology for is, because it's certificates of authenticity. I produce those for all of my prints that I issue out, and they're on paper, and people lose them, and they ask me to reissue them, and it's one thing that could be turned over to a blockchain technology where it's basically encrypted. if you lose it, there's no getting it back. So,
Yeah.
it's not like a piece of paper to lose. It helps to certify the ownership in case of insurance needs. Like, so if you had your house burned down, which I've had clients or collectors who's had fires in their homes and they lost their artwork and they're
Right.
calling me to get assessments for the value. Well, they would have a blockchain ledger that would show this is what I paid for it when I paid for it, and this is what the value was.
Yeah.
And that would be for insurance purposes.
Yeah. Yeah. And not only that, certificates of authenticity can be faked, it's like paper. They can be, you can do it. You can forge them.
And so
if it's on the blockchain, you can't fake it. If you have created this thing on the blockchain, it's that's what it is. That's it.
Yeah,
There's no way of screwing with it.
It's like cast in bronze and then etched in granite. Kind of like,
right.
It's hard to corrupt and fake and it's transparent. Anybody can see it. So it makes it hard to pull scams over on people. You can definitely see transactions that have happened and how they happen. But the thing that happened for me when I minted these first 3 NFTs that I didn't quite get was that I finally understood what it is that you're selling. And it's because the question is like, well, why would I buy a JPEG? So I can just download that off your website and show it on my phone. And it's not that you're buying it. It's like buying a JPEG. You're buying the proof that you bought it from the creator.
Right.
So
and that the creator said this is officially the one JPEG or whatever. This is the one I'm registering on the blockchain.
So if I put out put a JPEG of my art on sales and NFT, you're buying a piece of art from me, which you could, I guess you could. So like, just like when you buy a canvas print, sure, you could probably download the image off the internet, print it on canvas yourself, and then still have a canvas print of it, but it doesn't have my signature on it and my certification on it. And so what you're buying when you're buying an NFT is you're buying something that is certified from the creator.
So it's like it's like a signature. It's like a digital signature.
But you couldn't do that until blockchain technology. With digital art, you couldn't really do that because it could just be copied and duplicated, and anybody could say that they had the original, and there was no way to prove who had the one that was from the creator of it.
Right.
Like the one that was in the ledger.
Yeah.
So this is the one that's in the ledger. Could somebody else download one of my images and make an NFT of it? Yeah, technically they could, but then they would be producing it and you would be buying it from Joe Blow down the street and not from you, the artist.
Right.
So it shows provenance in the sense, like you can see in the blockchain after it sells or resells, you can see where it originated. It originated with Chet Zar, then it sold to whoever, and then it sold to whoever, and you can see what it sold for. You can see the chain of transactions, and that's what you're buying into. You're not just buying a JPEG like you can find on a Google.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You're buying into that ledger that's that accounts for who it originated from.
Right.
So
also it's a good time to mention as well, since a lot of this stuff on Foundation, most NFTs I think are being minted on the Ethereum network. Ethereum is close to being staked, which will, I think, make it 97%. It'll get rid of 97% of the environmental issues or whatever.
Yeah, it'll resolve a lot of the energy complaints that people have. Excuse me. Wow, shit. Some breakfast burrito.
Nasty. I can almost smell it.
That's coming next to the blockchain. You can register smells. But so all this stuff is really new, and like we're here talking about it, and I'm talking about it with the limits of my understanding.
Yeah.
And I feel like I know just barely enough to be able to talk coherently to people about it, but so that's the obstacle that we're overcoming, is like there's all this new technology, but most people don't even have any idea, and seems to be a lot of pushback against new things and technology when it comes out.
Yeah.
Or anything that is threatening the old system. And I can really give an example in the art business, like of when I was in college, like in other artists, like they were just poo-pooing on the idea of doing prints. Like, oh, that's, you're not making prints. That's just inkjet print, and it's not a real print, it's a reprint. It's like all this terminology. You can't call that a print. You didn't press it from a plate, like you know. And then the idea is like, oh, you should only sell originals, otherwise you're just a sellout. And it's like there's always this sort of like disappointed crowd in you, you know, that you're not. and so the anytime there's a new technology coming out, like when electric guitars came out, you know, musicians were, you know, shamed for moving from the traditional guitars and music to digital music and all that inspired. But look at what has grown, like how much it's blossomed into other things. And so so there's the pressure of people are going to give you a bunch of shit for doing something they think is immoral or wrong, or for whatever reason it might be, even if they're legitimate concerns about it. And then there's the other pressure of there's this new thing that people are asking you about, like, why don't you have a website yet? It's like, oh, I'm a purist.
I
don't believe in the internet, you know, like you're just gonna have to come and find me down here, you know, like whatever.
You're gonna have to drive to Venice and find me because I refuse to sell out and have a website.
So there's always the sort of trying to figure out, like, is this something that is important? Is it something that would be important for me to be a part of? And then is, you know, like, is there a way for me to do this? Like, and trying to get over this lack of knowledge and understanding. Like, it seems like this whole last couple of years, it just, every time I turn around, I'm learning something completely new from the ground up. And I run into the frustration that I can't just jump to the end product. Like, even with 3D modeling, it's like, oh, you know, I'm a creative, I'm an artist. And it's like, nope, you got to learn how to do, you know, mesh manipulation and what vertices are and how you have to be efficient using them. Otherwise your computer's going to crash. You don't even know what the constraints are. And so you just run into all kinds of problems. So I find myself starting at ground zero, learning new things over and over. And that gets taxing.
Well, especially 3D work, 3D modeling and animation especially is really, there's not an easy way to do it. It's so involved because you have control of like every aspect of this thing. Even like texturing, even when you get into texturing, I remember when I was learning it in the late 90s, I started learning Lightwave, and it's like, it actually taught me a lot about painting because there was specularity. It's like, I never heard really what specularity was before. And then there's diffuse light, and there's all these different characteristics of
occlusion.
And subsurface scattering and bump maps. And it's like
bump and displace.
Bump map versus displacement
UV mapping and all
UV mapping. And it's like, I remember after I did my Disturb the Normal animation DVD, after all those tool animations, it was like, I never wanted to do 3D again, because it was like, you know, I was taking everything I learned and I was making a project, which is ultimately like less than 15 minutes of animation, just looping on this. And it was just like, I remember every day I would just be like, brain. It took so much out of me. It was so like thought intensive. It was so like my brain had to just be constantly thinking, which is so different than painting, you know, because it's I guess when you're learning painting, it's that way because you're really using your brain and stuff.
And I think back to the beginning, like when I, you know, so I was drawing and painting and growing up, but I'll start like when I started at art school, the first things they have you do is drawing and painting primitive shapes. They have like a little model and you paint from life, and you start with earth tones. And you're like, yeah, I'm past like, you want to jump to like the fancy portraiture. But this is the way I've kind of relieved my anxiety about not knowing what I'm doing, is I look back to where I started, even with drawing and painting, and how where I'm at now is built on that foundation of all those skills that I've learned learning anatomy, learning how the things work, how to dry, like how to use a pen, like how to hold a paintbrush the right, you know, like ways how to become like, and then in 20 years of practice to get to a level where, oh yeah, kind of
yeah. But it's a a good feeling to find. It's a good feeling to have like 15 or 20 years of experience under your
Yeah.
belt where you can go, you just know you can do it, because I know the first few years, it was always first, at least the first 5 years for me, at least, where I was every painting, I didn't know if I could pull it off or not. Every painting was
Yeah.
like, I hope I don't fuck this one up. At this point, no matter what happens, you could fix it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And because you've done it so many times, and that's a good feeling. But we're doing stuff that we're doing, taking on now is like, we don't know we can fix it. You're doing a 3D model that you may spend 8 hours on, and because you didn't know something about it, you
Dude,
might not be able to, might not be able to make it work.
I spent at least 20 or 30 hours this week either trying to rig a character that I downloaded and manipulated off of I bought a model that was already like a human mesh,
Mm-hmm.
and then I sculpted it and changed a little bit, and I tried to rig it, and I've spent hours with that turning something into a Gumby. Like every time I do it, but then I have to delete the whole rig and I have to redo it. But every time I do it, I get better at
I know.
rigging the character. Like, oh, I found better ways to do it. I downloaded this iPad app you recommended, Nomad, and I created like just an outlaw character, and he looks like a clay Gumby, and I spent hours on that. And now, and I still, it looks like a piece of slick, lumpy clay. Like I can't get it, and having the anatomical knowledge and the way things structure is definitely a big help. But there's a huge things I'm not good at. I don't know how to customize my brushes to make them work properly. And I'm learning how to use all these tools. And so every iteration is building on itself. And what I have to remind myself is that it's not going to happen all at once. You're going to have to do iteration over iteration.
Yeah.
And eventually, like even when I started training in jujitsu, like you don't know anything and you're just getting clowned by all kinds of people, and it gets frustrating and you're getting murdered all the time. And you go 2 or 3 times a week for an hour at a time, and over the course of 8 to 10 years, you become a master of it.
Yep.
I mean, not like the elite master, but you have a mastery of understanding and knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't do these things all at once. They have to happen by building and building. Like, so every time I sit down to create something in a digital space, when I'm done, even as frustrated as I am, I'm better than when I started.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so
I'm going through this with YouTube right now, because I kind of came at this thing ass backwards in a way, because I start, YouTube, Patreon was supposed to be for people who have big followings on YouTube to give them a way to support you, because the whole ad apocalypse, that thing, I don't even know what that was, but it screwed up all their ad revenue on YouTube, all these YouTubers. They changed their algorithm, and all of a sudden people that were making good money on ad revenue were getting like a penny overnight. And so then, that's
the problem with some of these platforms is they change something and they shaft you, and there's nothing you can do about it because you don't have any ownership or stake, you don't have any claim.
Right. So anyway, I ended up starting my Patreon, which is doing well. Oh, wait. See, this is why I'm doing a podcast. See, hear that?
Yeah, I heard that.
It's a garbage truck outside my window.
That's perfect timing.
This is why I'm doing the test, because these little things like this is why I'm doing this video in here, because you can never, you can't think of everything. So that's going to be annoying.
I don't hear it that much. Like I heard it sound like a reverb or in your microphone.
Oh, okay, that's good. And maybe it's not picking it up as loud as
you can set your sounds to like gate things that are like that.
Right, background noise.
Yeah. So what you're doing right now, I've learned a lot of stuff because I was trying to do live streaming on YouTube and Facebook, and so I had to upgrade my computer, my camera. I had to get this microphone. I had to figure out how to keep the background noise from coming through the microphone in a live stream.
Mm-hmm.
That's hours of watching YouTube videos.
That's where I'm at right now, because it's like I started the Patreon and I used YouTube to host my videos for patrons. So I'm not really, I'm like, I'll post these really cool time-lapse videos and they have like 10 views on them, because it's just, it's just a few people at Patreon that see them. So what I'm going to do is, well, first off, let me say, someone told me a while back, you have to have like 1 million followers to make any money on YouTube with ads or whatever. And it barely pays anything. You have to have a ton. And then I talked to a friend of Lisa and mine, who is a YouTuber, and she was showing me like how much money you could make having like, I think she had 25,000 people, and she'd make 12 grand 1 month from ads and stuff and donations from live streams. It was a lot of money. And I was like, oh, because it's like the thing is, everything I do, it's part of this kind of game I'm playing. It's like, I'm trying to get more successful with my career, but I always have to, whatever I do, I can't afford to just have a hobby that doesn't earn money, because I can't afford it, because it's it's expensive. Live, especially in California, it's expensive. There goes the garbage truck. Picking up the recyclables this time, I guess. So this ends up being the game I'm playing. The game in life is, how can I earn money and do cool projects that I would want to do anyway? And so anyway, I saw this, the potential of making money on YouTube through videos. And I was thinking, okay, I've got like 150 of them already. And a lot of them are from 3 years ago that were just for my patrons. So it's like, I could start releasing those slowly and have basically people on my Patreon are getting things a year in advance or 6 months in advance, however I figure it out. And if I play the YouTube algorithm right, which is, I think from what this friend said, do 1 live stream a week where you interact with people, and then do like 2 video releases, it'll kick you into gear in the algorithm, and then you'll start getting more people to your channel, because I've been just like not growing at all on there. So that's kind of what I'm doing. That I'm watching all these videos. I just bought this ring light up here. I started thinking about, putting the Dark Art Society. I got a channel for that. So I'm going to start releasing those as videos, because it's another thing I want to get, I want more people to hear it, because I think it's a great podcast. So I'm doing that video on that. And then I'm watching all these YouTube videos, and it's like, there's so much more to it. I'm just like, fuck. It's like, I can't just make cool videos and fun, interesting videos. It's like, you have to name them correctly. You have to post them at a certain time. You have to make a thumbnail that grabs people's attention. But, I refuse to make the thumbnail of.
You should screenshot that and use that as your video screen pick for this one.
Totally big, thick white outline outside of me.
Just do this, and then like lightning coming out of your fingertips.
So it's like, I have to find a way to work around that, because I refuse to do that. There's no fucking way I'm going to do the stupid face. I don't care. I'm going to figure a way around it. That's what
it comes back to what I was saying. It's like, you don't have to. Like, you can create a nice looking image for your thumbnails.
Yeah,
that's simple, that has your logo on it, and the people who are going to want to check out what you're doing are already interested in what you're doing.
Yeah, it's just getting them there.
Yeah, so I use the main social media platforms to put out the best of content that I have, just as a way of, like, it's the display that people are walking by, and the ones that are really that you grab their attention, they're going to interact, and maybe they're going to poke around, and maybe they're going to click on a link. Most of them aren't. They're just scrolling by.
Right.
So I'm not going to waste a bunch of my time and energy trying to get the scrollers to just scroll and click and bounce out.
We're not looking at casual people. We're not looking for casual people.
I was at the the Art Expo in New York in 2005, the one I bombed at miserably. And
the one that almost bankrupted you?
Yeah, they did bankrupt me. I mean, I didn't file for bankruptcy. But I had like $7 after that, and $15,000 in credit card debt. And yeah, that was a fun time. Anyways, like, there was booths next to me and around me that were hustling, and they would be trying to get people's business cards. They'd have this little fishbowl and put your business card in here and we'll do a drawing to win a and they were just they're out there just trying to get people to put their business cards in order to win something. And whether they pull their name out and give somebody a prize, who knows? But what's the point? The person wasn't interested. They were interested. You want to start calling people that gave you their card because they thought they could win a free prize.
Right.
You're hustling that. Like, that didn't make any sense to me. Like, what you want is people who are willing to, they want to give you, they want to reach out to you, they want to connect. And you don't need everybody that walks by.
Right.
You're not, it's like if you're putting out a gill net trying to catch whatever you can, rather than using a specialty lure and trying to use some sort of a talent or technical ability to catch the fish you want to catch.
Right. Right.
So
yeah, I think
different.
Yeah. And I think that, part of that has to do with where we are in our careers, since we're established to some degree. I mean,
it just means we're on top of the slippery slope.
Well, I mean, when I, for example, when I was starting out, I would approve every friend request I got on Facebook. Just even if I just was, and I was trying to, I remember, trying to build that audience. And now it's like, I maybe see 1%. I maybe know, I don't know. Let's see. You get that 5,000 person limit on my personal page. I might know 200 or 300 people on there, and the rest are like, I have no idea who these people are. I don't interact with them.
Yeah.
So I don't need to do that anymore. We don't need to throw the wide net at this point in our career, since we've already kind of established this baseline collector base. We need to be more surgical and specific, and
I think
find
that
the right
idea
person.
applies to no matter what stage or level you're at, is to narrow your focus on people who are committed to being the committed follower. You're not,
right.
like, for lack of a better word, follower, like somebody who is interested in what you're doing and resonate with whatever you're creating is something that resonates with people. Like, where I look at in my career is like, I'm trying to figure out, like, what do I really want to do?
Exactly.
And I don't want to do all this hustle stuff. I really don't.
Same here.
What I want to do is make cool stuff and get it in front of people and connected to people who are like-minded, that are interested in it.
Yeah.
And so, like, all these new ventures aren't necessarily me trying to keep up with everybody else. It's just, there's a whole new crowd of people that my work can connect with, and that's the fun part, is
right,
getting the artwork out in the world and distributing it. And so the money is the most important thing. I'm not trying to, like, chase down the money, but the way that you filter out people. So you think of, you're creating artwork, and your job is to distribute it, to get it out. So how do you decide who gets what? Well, you don't want, the reason that you don't want to just give it away to anybody who asks, is because some people are, like, casually like, oh yeah, I want that. You say you gave it away for free.
Right.
They take it, they put it in the back of their car, and it stays under it falls under their seat, and it stays there for forever until they go to the car wash, and then they just throw it out because it got trampled on.
Yeah, right.
So that's what happens. That's, you give it away for free. That's a lot of what happens. People just will take free stuff because it's cool and don't care about it.
Right.
If you put some sort of, like, little bar of admission, like, even if it's $10, the person who is just going to take a free thing is like, I don't want it for $10. But the person who wants it for $10 is more likely to take it and put it on, like, with a magnet on their fridge or something, and people see it, and it becomes a part of their life. And that's cool. Like, that's why you're out there trying to, like, when I was out hustling in the street, I was trying to pay my bills, but now I'm looking at it as like, as far as being established or whatever, is like, you want to cultivate an audience, you don't have to go and try to sell out Dodger Stadium. All you have to do is sell out the little club that you have,
right,
and have a fun show. And so I think what I'm looking to do is to be more efficient, where I spend my energy, have more fun. The money is, of course, everybody wants to make more money, but mainly on that side of it, I've really been focusing on, like, managing the money that I make a lot better, not spending it on stupid things, putting it back into, like, one thing I've done, I think, fairly well throughout my career is putting money I made back into my art
Oh yeah, that's where
by
most of it
investing in
goes.
investing in equipment and tools, and studio spaces and booth spaces. Like I've always vehicles to transport my artwork. I've spent a lot of money putting it back into into what I'm doing. So that's how you build your operation, not necessarily by continually having to make more money, but by taking the money that you're making and managing it and focusing it so that it
brings in more money.
You buy things that help generate more revenue.
Right.
You know, so that might be a bigger printer to make bigger prints, or a faster printer to make more prints quickly, or hiring somebody to help you do administrative stuff. And I think that's what the problem we run into with a lot of the social media stuff is that what we would really need is a team that we could, but the hard part is being able to afford to pay people to do something that isn't their own project. So when you have people working for you on social media, which I've hired companies, I've hired individuals to help me, eventually they don't own what you're doing, so they don't really give a shit.
Right.
And so you're either going to pay a premium for that, which if they're not giving too much of a shit isn't going to be that effective. If they're not really in tune to what you're doing, it's the creating and representing and distributing of your artwork is such a personal thing.
Well, yeah, especially now with social media, it's all about connecting directly to the person. You know? And that's what they're looking for. They're looking for a direct connection with the artist, you know?
And so there's to that point, you know, you can't just make it so anybody and everybody has your phone number. You never get done answering a bunch of questions. So inadvertently, I've set up a way of creating a filter for that too, by basically not having a way to buy my artwork directly off my website. So people who really want to buy something or collect my work have to do a little bit of work to find me or find a place where they can buy it. You know, but I do respond to messages. But I don't need 500 messages of just rando questions that, you know, could be answered with a little bit of searching on their own part.
Right.
And I don't hope I don't come across as like sort of a
jerk,
a dick like that, but you know, there is a way to get hold of me, but it's just not on the front page of everything that I do.
Right.
You know, like I don't need my phone number on the front of my Instagram profile.
Right. Yeah,
you know?
Definitely.
If I was like Hertz Rent a Car and I was trying to, you know, rent cars, of course you need a phone, like, but I can only make, like, one of the things I run into when I got into a bunch of galleries is there was a lot of pressure to make more, make faster. And if they've seen it for more than 2 months, they don't want to buy it or sell it. And so you're constantly having to be under this pressure of production. And it starts to feeling like a job. And then you're just creating to you know, appease all this network that you're trying to support. And as one person, you can never create enough. Like there's only so much that you can fulfill.
Right.
Like you can't.
That's what makes it valuable. You know,
you can't have 500 galleries and 500, and they all get original paintings.
Right.
You know, I don't have 500 galleries, but you know, so I'm just exaggerating to make a point.
Yeah.
I can only make so much artwork. And on top of that, I don't want to be burning myself out constantly. Like, you know, what you just did for one show, imagine doing that every month for a new gallery show. Like I was like
be dead in a couple months.
5 or 6 new paintings for every show. And I was doing shows like every month or two.
Wow.
And it was just like nuts. You get burned out.
When was this?
It's over the last few years, like since like 2012.
Wow.
And when I was doing festivals, I would do new paintings between the seasons of shows, which would be the spring and the fall. So I would do a bunch of paintings between, you know, between Thanksgiving and like February. And then I would be going to shows all through the spring. And then when I ran out of originals, I ran out of originals. And then I would make more in the summer for the fall shows.
Yeah.
That's how I would approach it. So what I'm doing now is I'm making less paintings, but I'm really focusing on more pre-production and making sure that the paintings that I do are ones that I really want to do. And I'm not just trying to, like, you know,
crank out product.
Well, it's like you're not just cranking out product for a show, but you feel like if you're not making something, you're falling behind. You get into an internal pressure of like, I've got to keep doing this. I got to keep, you know, otherwise I got to put something new on Instagram. I got to put something new on Facebook. And once I just took that pressure off myself, that I don't have to do all that.
Mhm.
I'll put something up there when there's something interesting to put up there.
Right.
And meantime, I'm going to spend 30 or 40 hours learning a new tool so that I can use that in implementation for a bigger painting. Like this painting behind me, I've been working on for months. I haven't touched it for a while, but it's I started it probably a year ago.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool.
And I get to a point where like I don't know what to do with it. And I've done other paintings in between and simultaneously. But there's some, and this painting is probably not one that's going to sell. It's not like a really, it's more of a personal piece. It's not really something that, it's kind of dark and it's probably for my audience, it's not really a good fit, but
it's good for the Dark Art Society audience.
Yeah, I don't really give a shit. I like the painting and it means something to me and I'll keep it.
Right.
And so then there'll be paintings that I do that for whatever reason are just people like, and then I'll sell those. So I guess the short of it is I've just taken the pressure off of having to create for this secret of create for the having to create for the just sake of creating.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Which is like, it's funny because that's why we got into this in the first place was, because it's the funnest thing to do, is create for fun.
And that's the trick is like when you turn art into a business, you have to have fun on purpose. You have to be spontaneous on a schedule,
Yeah. That's the tricky part is once you turn it into a business, it's easy for it to not become fun. It's easy to fall into that trap. So it's a constant balancing act of, I want these paintings to be inspired. I want it to be fun. Don't want to forget why I got to this place, So it's like you have to balance sales and money and business practices with keeping it fresh and keeping it fun and not forgetting why you got there in the first place, why you decided to do it in the first place.
So, yeah. So to do that, I have to really, sorry, my girlfriend's just messaging me over and over here. Now I'm dinging on I turned the messages off and now so like, sorry, you must. Anyway, I love her.
She's great. She's great.
Nobody messages me all day. I get on a call and all of a sudden I was like, hey, we got to talk. Anyway, where was I going?
I don't know. Keeping it fun.
Yeah. So I have to dial back the idea of the business.
That's all right. You can text her.
I'll deal with this later. It's not, she must be on her lunch break. I don't know. Anyway, what I had to do is take the idea of I got to make money and sell something out of the equation when it comes to making artwork. I have to accept the fact that I'm going to make paintings that some of them that I really love that nobody's going to buy,
right? Or
they're not going to sell right away. They're not going to find the right audience. Those paintings do eventually, and sometimes they surprise you and they sell right off. You never know. So that's the thing. Yeah. Like the whole point of making the art is like I want to make the art that I find really interesting.
Yeah.
Some of it's going to do really well, and some of it is going to not do as well.
Yep.
And that's the risk that I take in putting lots of energy and time into anything is that, the amount of prices and sales that I do get also reflect all of the things that I do that don't generate any revenue. Like all of the learning new stuff, all the practice, all the time that I spend trying to do something that doesn't turn into anything.
Right.
I make up for that by some paintings that sell for decent prices, but that didn't start out that way.
Right.
So I guess the point is like I want to make the art that I like, that I want to make, and hopefully I can sell enough of it.
Right. Well, and another thing is that, you couldn't have taken the time to learn a 3D program when you were selling on the boardwalk because you were hustling constantly.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's cool that, and I feel this too, at the point in my career as well. It's like we are at a point where we can take time to do some of these other things because we've gotten enough money coming in to afford us that, and it's like,
Yeah.
but it's, of course it's what's going to keep the business going or keep the art going, keep the whole thing moving forward. So we're,
Yeah.
it's not like we're taking time out and partying. It's like we're taking time away from painting to learn things that are going to hopefully keep the money rolling in so that we can keep painting. Cause that's the bottom line
Those
for
other
me.
things influence the painting. Like,
Right.
like this, I created a digital model for this painting behind me of trains, and it doesn't look anything like my digital model, but it gave me a way to
Right.
visualize and lead board onto it. And then I use, I'll take a photo of the painting and then I'll go into Procreate and do touch, try to plan out my next step on the painting without wasting a bunch of time staring at the painting, trying to figure out in my head, or working on the painting and screwing something up that was working.
Right.
So I'm starting to learn how to incorporate all these new tools into what I'm doing.
It's so great. I mean, when I first started painting, that was kind of my goal, is like, I'm gonna do 3D scenes for my reference and paint them. And then I just didn't have time to do that because I had to just hustle so much. And, I'm at a point now where I can kind of start doing stuff like that and learning new technologies and video editing and doing all the stuff that's going to lead to, keeping the ball rolling forward. One thing I wanted to bring up too about back to NFTs a little bit, and I mentioned this, I think, when we were talking before, or we were talking with Josh or something, but that Kevin O'Leary guy, that bald rich guy on Shark Tank
guy.
Yeah. He some interview, he was saying that the future jobs will be engineering. The top 3 jobs will be engineering, and then the next top job will be artist, which is, not that he's the be all end all of everything, but to hear that kind of tripped me out, because it's like, it makes sense, because it's like engineering for this new blockchain technology and all these protocols and these different layers that are going to be functioning and everything being on the blockchain. But then you're going to need artists. That's the one thing that, you can't really do. That's the one thing missing from the equation. You need creators. You need stuff to put on the blockchain. You need stuff that's worth putting on the blockchain. It's like, and so that's one of the reasons I'm so intrigued with NFTs, is that not just JPEGs, but the whole thing we've been talking about, the whole potential for that space is it. Imagine a world like that would be. I'm not saying it's like a utopia, but for artists, that would be kind of amazing.
There's a whole new world that I think is going to benefit artists quite a bit on blockchain.
Yeah,
it appears that way. We shall see.
Yeah. Who knows what's going to happen?
As I look on there, I look at some of these forums and these places that are doing NFTs, and it's just garbage after garbage after garbage.
Yeah.
But I think there's, it's easy to be judgmental about that. There's a whole community that maybe there's something I don't get. Yeah. Maybe it being garbage is the point.
Could be an in joke between a group of people on a Discord server
I kind of feel like grandpa wading into the thing and like I'm chasing after a train with my luggage, it's running away. Like, let me on, I'm here. Like, no, sorry, old man, you need an electric scooter to catch up to this train. Like, what, electric what?
What bugs me? One thing that really bothers me about the whole.
I still have AOL online, like a dial-up connection. I'm trying to like.
Well, but one thing that bothers me about the whole blockchain crypto space is it's kind of dominated by libertarians and people on the right, and that is like bums me out, because I'm not like that really. And it's like, not to say that blockchain's for everybody, it shouldn't be to one political side, but it just feels like there's a whole bunch of people that are kind of missing out on it, partially because of that, because so many people on the right are so into it. It automatically turns people that might be, decent liberal types that are just like, why would I want to be part of a space with a bunch of, right wingers and Trump supporters? And in turn, if this could be this huge boom for artists, it's like you've got all these artists missing out on this opportunity because of that.
Yeah, I don't get too worried about any of that. I haven't waded into it. I haven't seen a lot of that. I haven't. To be honest,
every time I see one of those, aside from the Invest Answers, James on Invest Answers, like on that George crypto one, and a couple others, it's just like, Biden bashing and Trump 2024. It's just like,
where is it?
Not
on
YouTube.
Oh yeah,
YouTube comments. It's like, it shouldn't be political. It's not a political thing at all. It's not.
Yeah, I didn't read any of those comments.
You're not watching the live chat then.
It's too much garbage. I just listen to what the guy's saying, and I don't see him talking about all that stuff.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's fair.
And when I just was perusing the NFT listings on Foundation today, I didn't see anything political that jumped out at me.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
It's just a bunch of weird, animated digital stuff, and what it seems to me is like people are just creating almost just any rando thing they can create. I saw like this digital mesh thing that was missing faces, and it was on a rotating thing with a flashing screen behind it. Like it was just like somebody, like they farted onto a napkin and they uploaded it to the thing, and then it's like, it's for sale for $2,000 and it's got 3 bids,
right?
And this person's got 300 followers, and like, what? And I feel that's what it makes me feel like. Am I the old person just doesn't get it?
Yeah I know that. Well, this is,
am I taking the wrong track by trying to put up like something that I created and I think is cool and it works in the world that I operate in? Should I just be screenshotting people's stupid comments and making an NFT out of it?
Right.
Should I just be like taking a random picture of my feet on the floor, like, here you go,
right?
$3,000, please?
Yeah, I mean, this kind of goes back to I guess what I was sort of thinking would be the topic, or what we could name this podcast episode, but it's like getting out of your comfort zone. This is a way of us getting out of our comfort zone. Not that we're doing it for that reason, but we're not letting that stop us from growing.
This whole thing is stressing me out.
Right? Yeah, because that's why you were saying that. Yeah, after minting.
It's like, why am I? It's like I'm completely stressed because I anticipate getting a bunch of shit from people because of what they've heard about the energy consumption, environmental issues, which I understand and I'm aware of. And
I guess that might be part of why
I believe that it's going in the right direction and that's going to change. Although I need to be in the mix to understand what it really is, to see if it could go that way, or just, I can't stay on the sidelines and know what it's like to be you have to be in the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And
I'll tell you, man, I've suffered from all my life. I kind of feel like I've suffered from being either too late to the party or too early to the party. Mostly too late to the party.
I've always showed up when everything was wrapping up and they were ushering everybody out the door. Every time I've showed up to somewhere.
It's like with my band was like that. It was,
I guess we're FOMOing into it.
Yeah, right.
But I had held off all year on dipping my toes in this because I wanted to learn more about it and see.
Same here.
And I feel pretty comfortable that A, this is where the future is going.
Right.
B, the concerns that people have are real, but I think they're going to be alleviated by the way the technology is developing.
It's being alleviated as well. It's like they are working on it.
But see, I can only really know so much from looking outside in. I have to get in to be able to see where this is going for myself. And if I get into it and it turns into, this is crazy, it really is a horrible idea, I don't have to keep propagating into it. I can just like, all right, that I learned my lesson here.
Right.
There's been things I've spent lots of time and energy and money on and turned out to be a big dud. But
Yeah,
you don't
same
know
here, man.
you don't know that until you
I
make a
know.
real effort at it. You
You
don't
got
know
yeah,
what's not working until you really try to
yeah,
do something.
yeah. You got to take some chances. I definitely have. Yeah, exactly. But I it really does bother me the shaming that goes on with NFTs from people online. It's like even if it's like that just pisses me off. It makes me want to do it even more. Just in spite of them, because it pisses me off that the hubris and the total
Well, yeah, people are internet
bothers me.
keyboard warriors, so it's like,
It bothers me. It's like it's one thing to have a discussion, oh, that's cool that you're doing that. I have issues with this, blah blah, whatever.
yeah.
But
Well,
it's like,
I
oh,
posted
so you like to destroy the world, huh? You
Let's
know?
see if I have any negative comments yet.
Yeah. About your NFT.
Yeah, I did post it on Facebook, and there's been no comments, one share, and a few reactions. That's the weird things. Like, you will stress yourself out about
I
what other
know.
people think. You tell yourself, who cares what everybody else thinks? But
I know,
it's
but
part of being a person,
secretly,
is
yeah,
that
secretly down inside, it still
you
bugs you
don't
when it
want to
happens.
disappoint people who are supporting you, whether it's just a moral support or not.
And you don't want people to think you're a horrible person who's destroying the environment, because
Yeah.
and it's like, that's just like, it's not a fair characterization
Or you
of
have to accept
it
the
either.
fact that you're a horrible person destroying the environment and just move on. I mean, like,
Yeah,
so I get
well,
back to, like, is my, I'm concerned about what other people think because I'm having my own moral sort of turmoil over this. Like, am I really? Then you start trying to, like, well, I'm also eating beef. I'm also driving a car.
yeah, but then yeah,
First world society is ultimately just bad for the environment
exactly. And
in total.
that's kind of,
But that's a way of excusing yourself out of not having to
it
draw a
can
line somewhere. So,
it
like,
can be, but it's also like, you made the point, like, you don't have any kids, so it's like, is the
yeah,
person yelling at you,
I'm not adding any extra feet to the footprint. So.
is the person as the person giving you shit, do they have a kid? Do they drive a lot? It's like, I never drive.
But
I
those are
haven't eaten meat in 30 years. So it's like, everybody's got, and nobody's unplugging their shit at night. Nobody's unplugging their stuff when they don't use it, which is the source of
but these are all rationalizations that
I
we
know.
use when we want to trick ourselves
Yeah,
into thinking
right,
we're okay
right.
doing what we want to do.
But it's the truth though.
Yeah.
It is the truth. So it's like, I get it too, because I don't want to do anything bad for the environment either. But it's like, this podcast is doing something bad for the environment.
I mean,
right now.
I've done
It's
so
like,
many things that are way worse that people will be disappointed in, that
right.
I don't continue to do those things. So.
Yeah.
and,
So
and
I
so
it's you got to look. You got to do you got to do what you're okay with, and you shouldn't not do it because a bunch of people are giving you shit online. If you're truly
Yeah.
okay with it, whether you've rationalized it or made peace with it or whatever,
Well, so like I said, I've taken the time to try to learn as much as I can, and I feel like I've reached a certain level. Like, I can't really learn any more about something without trying to do it. Like I want to go back to my jujitsu analogy. Like, I can watch all the videos and techniques I want, all from the top level black belts and experts in the world. I can watch hours and hours of video
Mm-hmm.
and tutorials, but it doesn't mean shit until I go into a gym and spar with somebody and try to use it.
Right.
That knowledge isn't knowledge until it's applied to something, until you
Right.
actually use it. And so that's where I feel like I'm at. Like, all right, I've watched all the tutorials, all the videos, all the back and forth, and there's arguments on both sides, and it's confusing, and there's no real hard answer on this.
Right.
So the way to really learn about this is to jump in the game and try to apply your understanding and knowledge.
Right.
And that's the only way to do it.
Yep.
Unfortunately. And when you do it in jiu-jitsu, you risk getting your arm broke or getting choked out or getting hurt.
Right. That's why I don't do it.
Or hurting somebody else. You risk, there's always this risk involved of danger. And so the risk of the NFTs is that, yeah, it is perpetuating a thing that could be harming the environment, but it could also be perpetuating something that could benefit people on a global scale that don't
Right.
have access to banking and all these other
That's
things.
the other thing. There's like
By
a
creating
huge,
an actual use for this technology,
right.
it helps develop the technology in a more sustainable and efficient way.
Yeah, there's a huge component that we didn't even talk about. I mean, we need to wrap the video up because I don't want to keep you on all day, but there's this huge component we didn't even talk about how it's helping to bank poor people. I mean, talk about doing something that would seriously make a huge difference in people's lives in third world countries, in all of Africa. It's like people can't even have money in banks. They can't get any money because it's so corrupt in these third world countries, and it's like
The currencies are collapsing, and there's all kinds of issues. Like,
it's such a huge thing.
I'm not really qualified to talk about any of that. I can only say from what I can see for the way it can be beneficial to artists. I can see how it can be useful in business transactions and transparency and authenticating what you're doing. And there's all kinds of real practical, real world uses outside of just speculating on shitty JPEG animations.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
it's kind of like naysaying the internet when it first started because of the dark web or potential stuff on there. You know, it's like there's a lot of bad that will come with blockchain.
Yeah,
potential bad for sure, but it's not because it's a bad technology. It's because it's so huge. It's a huge disruptive technology that's going to bring really great and really equally probably bad, you know.
When people started buying stuff online or stores, I was like, who's going to want to go buy stuff at the, like online? Like when I buy a pair of pants, I want to try them on, or a pair of shoes. But now look at it, like you can just sit in, like all the gear I have, I ordered online and just showed up at my door. I didn't have to go to the store and look and talk to somebody. Like, there's a lot of, it's so complicated. You can't distill it into just a one sided thing.
It's huge.
It's good or bad for it's.
I would just urge everybody to learn as much about it if they're interested. I just think that it's something that everybody should learn about because it's going to be part of everybody's lives in the future. I really think that.
Yeah, I think it's headed that way. It seems to be.
Yep. It's such a superior technology in so many ways.
If we don't get swallowed up by a volcano or an earthquake or
fall into the ocean, seas,
we're all gonna die. So
yeah, I think that's I think a lot of it's coming from justified climate anxiety because it's insane what's going on in the world. It's like no one will deal with it. No one who could that needs to deal with it will deal with it. They're just like,
well, that's because we keep thinking someone else is going to deal with it and that someone else doesn't exist.
Right. Well, governments are supposed to be dealing with it, and large corporations are supposed to be.
The problem with the governments is that the governments are being corrupted by self-serving tools, and there's things beyond our control.
Yeah.
But so I don't know what's going to happen with all this stuff.
I don't either.
But I finally decided it's worth putting it out there and seeing.
Yeah, giving it a shot. Even if you only end up doing these 3 NFTs, it's not going to kill.
And if it blows up in my face, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I don't think any reasonable person is going to hate you for it.
There's no such thing as a reasonable person.
Okay, that's a perfect place to end. Perfect ending. All right. Well, thanks, Gabe, for coming on. It was
no
fun talking to you as always. Everybody, if you're watching, the Patreon people, if you're watching this video, let me know how you like the new background and if this is worth doing and if the garbage truck was too loud. And so thanks.
I think this is going to be an awesome little format for you. It's going to be cool to have somebody you can watch and listen, because you can still listen to this just fine.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because I'm still doing an audio only podcast.
What'd be cool is to do a podcast where you're actually working on the painting while you're talking to another artist, and you're just both of you are talking, working on stuff.
That's what I was saying, that we should start a show where it's
I have the same setup I use for my live streams. I could just be sitting here dinging on a painting.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. We should do a show where we're both just working on paintings and bullshitting like we normally do, except instead of through text, we'll just be doing it on video. Yeah,
we just live stream it and that's it.
Yeah.
So that's the getting to the efficient way of not having to do all these
Right.
The live streams are always simple.
Yeah.
All I had to do after the fact was upload like a little thumbnail clip.
Yeah.
And edit my description for things that I talked about, and that was it.
Yeah. I see this music reaction video from this couple that they have these nice little videos, short videos where they're reacting to songs. And what they do is they do a live stream with their audience, and the audience like tells them which songs to react to. And they do, and I think they pull the live thing down when it's done, and they just chop out the parts where they're talking to the audience, and then they have these finished videos that look great.
Yeah, so I record all of my live streams too. I could go back and chop it into like segments of where I'm talking about stuff.
That's the other thing I want to do too is in this setting in my studio, I want to start making talking head YouTube videos about art. Just where I'm like talking about 5 things you should never do, or what as an artist, or my art journey, or blah. There's a lot
that's how I did my live stream. I just started out by talking about basically getting my, instead of like writing it down and trying to put it into a book, I just like, here's everything that I did and how I did it. Well, over the course of about 5 or 6 videos.
You could, and you could transcribe it and turn it into a book too, if you wanted to, but
because we know how well books sell.
Don't say that. I'm almost ready to have release my book. I ordered an extra like 500.
All the room in my studio I have stored. Like I sold half the books that I did with my Kickstarter, but that leaves a lot of books sitting around in my studio.
I know. I still got a garage full of Black Magic books, but oh god, yeah. I'm hoping Dystopia takes off. Anyway, I don't want to keep you. So let's say goodbye to the audience, and don't hang up. Say goodbye, audience.
Goodbye, audience.